cast sections. If you look at this lower frame cradle, engine cradle, you can really see the difference here. So that's a pretty substantial difference. Overall weight reduction efforts on this is 1.87 pounds lighter for 2019. So a lot of weight reduction. We're going to go through and kind of build the bike, make it lighter and lighter, and then we're going to add some weight when we get to the bottom. So the fuel tank, you know, they talked a lot about the different configuration here. This is the 18, this is the 19. You can see, I mean, it depends on how I hold it. It's a little different, but you can see that this one is definitely higher and this one is lower, and it's better tapered into the seat. Again, 18, 19 seat. Just to show you the difference, a little bit difference in length on the seats, and this one's a little bit flatter, especially where it meets the fuel tank. And you're welcome to pick up the parts and look at them if you want. The fuel pump mounts in a similar position. There's no difference in the mounting of the fuel pump, but because it's lower profile, that makes up for the capacity that was given up here. So it's still 1.6 gallon tank, lower fuel pump, lower top on the 19, makes a more compact fuel tank.
It was 1.7.
1.6. We mentioned the air filter, and again, this is part of the show and tell where you might just want to grab it and feel the thickness. This is the 18. I'll pass that around if anybody wants to grab a hold of it. And this is the 19. It's all new configuration. It's accessed through the left side only, and you can feel that that's a little bit thinner foam element. So again, that's to give the engine a little bit better breathing. You know, let's do the throttle bodies now. This is difference in the two throttle bodies. Overall, they look very similar. This is the 18, this is the 19. Your configuration here, if you look at it from the cylinder's point of view, you can see the fuel injector is coming in right at the top there. This is the 18. And when you open the butterfly, it opens at the bottom. So when you first crack the throttle and the butterfly opens, the air wants to sneak through the bottom, and the fuel is being injected on the top. So what they did for 19 is they kind of flipped this around. Let me get my orientation here. So we have the fuel injector at the top, and when you open this butterfly, it opens right at the top, right where the fuel is being fed into the venturi. So you get much better atomization of the fuel, much crisper throttle response. A couple of the other parts here, these are intake valves, 2019, 2018. You don't have to have a micrometer to see the difference. You know, this one's much bigger in dimension. Brad mentioned the cams are different. This is the 18, this is the 19. You can really see the more aggressive lobe configuration here, the sharper angles, steeper angles, and that's because this 18 would press directly onto the top of the valve. Of course, there's a bucket and a shim on top of that, but it's direct actuation. For 19, it's a whole new head design, and it basically, I don't have a finger follower, but it's basically like your finger. And a little bit of pressure up here makes a lot of movement at the bottom. So it uses the finger follower as a lever. And it can open and close the valves much quicker because using direct actuation, you'd be putting a side load on that bucket. So a good way to look at this is on the head. This is the 18, this is the 19, and you can see where the buckets would drop into the head. And of course the cam is pushing straight down on those. If you get too aggressive, then it's side loading the buckets. This one, no buckets. So less friction using those finger follower valve actuation. Another difference in the head is the cylinder casting has a special release agent that's added to the mold, so that when this is poured, this liquid metal, it's poured into the mold, this surface finish on the intake port is much smoother than the current model. So some manufacturers are hand polishing these intake ports. You can feel the difference there. We don't need to because we've improved the process of how it's manufactured. Another key component in the engine is the pistons. We have the 18, we have the 19. They're both the bridged box bottom construction. and I'll pass them around, and you can actually feel the weight difference. So having a lighter weight piston is always a good thing, but they actually improve the strength in the 19 piston as well. So I would view that as kind of a double win. Front axle, I don't have the 20 millimeter 18 axle, but this is the larger 22 millimeter axle. As we mentioned before, it required new bearings and a new hub. So it's not just the axle. Again, I'll pass these around. These are the foot peg mounts. It's kind of like night and day. And the foot pegs, the larger foot peg is the 19, the narrower foot peg is the 18. And you can see not only the width, but how much cleaner the dirt is going to drop through that, and which one's lighter. And it's the 19 is lighter. So we saved a ton of weight here. 1.87 pounds on the chassis, 2.05 pounds on the engine, and then we added some weight back. So this is what everybody was asking us for, is the electric starter. So we added that, and we added this heavy battery. And actually the battery is the lightest and smallest, most compact battery in the 450 class. So I think it's 490 grams, fully charged, and it's a featherweight battery. KHI did a lot of work to make sure that we were going to have a very reliable starting system. So that's why the starter is a little heavy, but they use the latest technology in the battery to really take some weight off.
I got a dumb question.
Yeah, no dumb questions.
Last year's aftermarket foot pegs fit on this year's bike?
The foot peg mounts are the same.
Yeah.
So you could mount the 19 foot pegs on the 18 bike to save weight, yes. But no dumb questions. And so there's a new rear braking rotor, 250 millimeter rotor. So it's, I believe, a 10 millimeter increase from last year. And it's the braking brand rotor. So we call it a pedal rotor. Nice shape, helps keep the pads clean. And again, matches the front braking rotor.
Biggest in class.
Largest in class as well, yes.
The rear's largest in class?
Largest in class. Okay, and so one last thing. We'll have actually some more parts out tomorrow, guys. Just didn't have time to go through everything tonight. But the one thing I did want to show you is the swing arm. If you look at it in this axis, let me just double check. This is the 18, this one's the 19. You can see that where the shock mounts has been moved over. So it's closer to this side for 19. The other big difference is if you compare the size of the casting, how deep does the casting go and where does the extruded beams start. This casting is much larger on the 18, a shorter, smaller casting on the 19. Longer spars actually increases the give, the compliance a little bit in the swing arm, which again benefits you and helps improve traction, rear traction. Overall dimension is the same, but there are a lot of detail changes. As I said, the casting and the extrusion process is the same, but the dimensions of those castings are different. We'll have to check that. I don't